80 weeks. That's not just a number, that's a statement. And Aryna Sabalenka has just carved her name into a list so exclusive that it includes Serena Williams and Martina Navratilova. But here's the real question. Does this milestone confirm her era, or is the biggest test of her reign about to begin in Indian Wells? Because this isn't just about celebrating history. This is about understanding what 80 weeks at world number 1 truly means in modern women's tennis, and why the timing of this achievement makes everything even more dramatic. Aryna Sabalenka has officially started her 80th week as the WTA world number 1. Since the rankings began in 1975, only 10 women had ever reached that mark. Now it's 11. And Sabalenka is part of that elite company. Think about that for a second. We are talking about standing shoulder to shoulder with icons like Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova. We are talking about joining a statistical club that defines not just greatness, but sustained dominance. Anyone can have a hot year. Very few can control the tour for this long. And what makes this even more impressive is that Sabalenka is only the 6th player this century to hit 80 weeks at number 1. The names before her: Martina Hingis, Serena Williams, Justine Henin, Ashleigh Barty, and her current rival, Iga Swiatek. That's not just elite company, that's tennis royalty. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. She reaches this milestone just days before Indian Wells, one of the most prestigious events outside the Grand Slams, the so-called 5th major, the tournament where the pressure feels different, heavier, almost symbolic. And her draw? Tricky, dangerous, full of hungry contenders. The narrative writes itself. Is this 80-week celebration the coronation of a dynasty, or is it the calm before a storm? Let's take a step back and appreciate how difficult this achievement really is. Being world number 1 isn't about a single tournament. It's about consistency across surfaces, across continents, across months of travel, pressure, injuries, expectations. It's about waking up every single week knowing everyone is chasing you. Sabalenka didn't just sneak into this milestone. She powered her way here. At 27 years old, she has matured from a raw, explosive hitter into something far more dangerous, a controlled aggressor with belief. Early in her career, critics questioned her emotional stability in big matches. The double faults, the streakiness, the occasional implosions. But this version of Sabalenka? This is different. This is a player who understands pacing, who understands patience, who understands that dominance isn't just about hitting harder. It's about handling moments. Her current ranking points stand at 10,675. That's not a slim margin. That's a gap. Iga Swiatek sits at 7,588. Elena Rybakina at 7,253. Coco Gauff at 6,803. Jessica Pegula at 6,583. That's separation. But rankings never tell the full story, because looming in Indian Wells is a reminder of unfinished business. Mirra Andreeva, last time they played the Indian Wells final, it didn't go the way Sabalenka planned. She took the first set 6-2. It looked routine, controlled, almost inevitable. Then everything shifted. Andreeva came back 6-4, 6-3. Composed, fearless, unshaken by reputation. At just 17 years old, she didn't just win a title, she made a statement. She became one of the youngest champions in Indian Wells history, following in the footsteps of Martina Hingis and Serena Williams. Let that sink in. The same teenage brilliance that once defined legends is now embodied in a player who has already beaten Sabalenka on one of the biggest stages. And that's what makes this 80-week milestone fascinating, because greatness is never static. The moment you reach a historic marker, someone younger is already planning to take it from you. Andreeva is now ranked world number 8 at just 18 years old. She's the defending champion in California. She already has a WTA 1000 Dubai title under her belt. She's beaten Iga Swiatek en route to a massive title before. She has no fear. So when Sabalenka walks into Indian Wells as the number 1 seed, she carries more than ranking points. She carries legacy weight. And here's the curiosity gap that nobody is talking about yet. Sabalenka is just 2 weeks away from surpassing Lindsay Davenport's 98-week total at number 1. One strong stretch, one more deep run, and she climbs another rung on the all-time ladder. But what if she stumbles? Because this sunshine swing isn't gentle. The Merida Open just concluded with Christina Buck lifting the trophy. The ATX Open saw Peyton Stearns take the title in Austin. Lower-tier events, yes, but they signal something important. Depth, hunger, momentum from players outside the top four. The WTA landscape right now is layered. It's not just Sabalenka and Swiatek anymore. It's Rybakina's precision, Gauff's athleticism, Pegula's consistency, Anisimova's resurgence, Paolini's grit, Svitolina's experience, Victoria Mboko's emergence at just 19. This top 10 is not passive, and Indian Wells is unforgiving. Slow courts, heavy balls, long rallies. It demands physical endurance and tactical intelligence. Power alone won't win it. Which brings us back to Sabalenka. Her evolution is the real story. This isn't the Sabalenka who lived and died by first-strike tennis. This is a player who can defend when necessary, who can absorb pace, who can reset after losing momentum. That's why 80 weeks matters. It reflects adaptation. But history is ruthless. When Serena Williams dominated, she didn't just collect weeks, she imposed fear. When Martina Navratilova ruled, she suffocated opponents mentally before the match even began. Is Sabalenka there yet? That's the debate. Statistically, she belongs in the conversation. Emotionally, the aura is still forming. Because part of becoming an all-time great is surviving the wave of challengers. Hingis had to battle the power era. Serena had to fend off multiple generations. Swiatek is still in the middle of her own fight to reclaim full control. And Sabalenka? She's right in the crossfire of eras. She's strong enough to beat anyone on her day. But Indian Wells will test whether her dominance feels inevitable or fragile. There's also the Miami Open waiting right after. And remember, Sabalenka won Miami in 2025. That's another 1,000-level crown she's defending emotionally, if not in points, so this stretch could define her season. If she wins Indian Wells, the narrative shifts from milestone to momentum, from 80 weeks to unstoppable era. If Andreeva defends her title again, the conversation flips. Suddenly, it's about transition, about the next generation applying real pressure. And here's something that often gets overlooked: reaching 80 weeks at number one is not just physical excellence. It's psychological warfare. Every opponent brings their best version against you. Every crowd either wants you to win dramatically or lose spectacularly. Sabalenka has learned to embrace that spotlight. But I want to hear from you. Does this 80-week milestone already cement Aryna Sabalenka as one of the defining players of her generation? Or does she need another dominant season, maybe another slam or two, to truly sit beside Serena and Navratilova in spirit, not just statistics? Because tennis history doesn't just remember numbers, it remembers moments. And Indian Wells might deliver the next one. Imagine a rematch final: Sabalenka versus Andreeva. Experience versus youth. Power versus composure. Legacy versus ambition. That's cinema. But don't sleep on Iga Swiatek. She's quietly sitting at number 2, waiting. Swiatek understands the number 1 position better than anyone active besides Sabalenka. She knows how it feels to control the tour, and losing that spot fuels motivation. Rybakina can flatten anyone off the court. Gauff thrives in chaotic matches. Pegula is tactical and steady. There are no easy paths, which makes Sabalenka's achievement even more impressive. 80 weeks. When you look at the WTA ranking system that started in 1975, you realize how many champions never reached this mark. It's not automatic. It's earned week by week, and Sabalenka earned it through evolution, through fixing her serve when it faltered, through embracing big match tension, through turning criticism into fuel. But the story isn't finished. In fact, it might just be entering its most dramatic chapter, because milestones can either relax a player or sharpen them, and we're about to find out which version shows up in the desert. Will Sabalenka play free, knowing her legacy is growing? Or will the weight of history tighten her swing in key moments? That's what makes sports addictive, the uncertainty. As the sunshine swing unfolds, every match will feel like a referendum on her reign. And if she lifts that Indian Wells trophy, the message will be loud. This isn't just a top-ranked player. This is the era of Aryna Sabalenka. But if a teenager like Mirra Andreeva disrupts the script again, then we're witnessing something even bigger. The collision of generations in real time. So before the first ball is struck in California, remember this. Number 8. It represents consistency, growth, dominance. But it also represents expectation, and expectation is heavier than any trophy. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Is Sabalenka building a dynasty right now? Or is Indian Wells the tournament where the balance of power could shift again? This is what makes women's tennis electric in 2026. Multiple stars, multiple narratives, and history being written weekly. Aryna Sabalenka has joined Serena Williams and Martina Navratilova on an exclusive list. Now she has the chance to prove she belongs there in spirit, and Indian Wells will decide the tone of that story. RedDust Report, where tennis isn't just watched, it's felt.